been held in your hands from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
Let's all lift our voices together as we continue to sing.
All my life you have been faithful.
Yes, you have.
All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna sing. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of
You guys can have a seat. I wonder what it would take to get to a place in our lives where we really felt that way, what we just sang. In what way would we have to live our lives in order to be able to say with confidence, all my life, God has been faithful to me? Is this something that some people stumble into and others don't? Does it depend on some cosmic roll of the dice where only a handful of people are able to experience God's faithfulness and the rest of us are left out? Does the goodness of God actually apply to everybody or just those that he chooses? Because the truth is, here today are people who fall on both sides of God's faithfulness, or at least their perception of it. Some of us can say with certainty that we have seen it in our lives time and again. But others of us are still waiting, still hoping to find out that God's faithfulness really is a thing, that it's true, because up to this point, we have yet to see it. And for the latter group, questions like the ones posed just a moment ago, they're all too real, because it often feels like the things God does are random or mysterious, haphazard even. And we're just caught in the middle, enduring hardship after hardship, waiting for God's faithfulness to break through. We get the sense from the book of Ruth that for much of Naomi's life, she would have been in this latter group. During our When Life Gets Hard series, we've been peeling our way through, but the short but powerful book called Ruth, watching Naomi's life unfold in a profound way. Through the love and compassion of her daughter-in-law, Ruth, who the book is named after, and her distant relative, Boaz, and the community that she was surrounded by, we've seen Naomi, over the course of this series, go from utterly broken to ultimately whole, from listless to legacy. And if Naomi were with us today, she'd be singing about the goodness of God at the top of her lungs, because despite her hardship, she witnessed it firsthand. Or maybe it was because of her hardship that she saw it, not despite it. Maybe she was only able to find faithfulness because she went through the fire first. I mean, after all, how can you win a race that you never run? How can you win a fight that you've never fought? How can you reach the summit without climbing the mountain? Can a person ever experience the faithfulness of God unless they're in a position where it feels distant first? There's irony there, and it's where we're going to spend our time today. We're going to lean into one particular lesson in the book of Ruth to answer the questions we asked when we started, and the answer is good news. Here's the truth we already know. The hardship and hurt of this life is coming for all of us. No one is immune. Nobody gets to opt out. You can't run from it, hide from it, or hold it back in any way. And in that way, all of us are or will be in the position where God feels far away, where he feels distant. We're all going to experience pain. Here's the truth you may not know. It's exactly because of this that God's faithfulness isn't random or reserved for a few. Since we will all walk through pain, we can all experience the faithfulness of God. And in that way, your pain isn't meaningless. What's funny is that this message, what I'm doing right now, was born out of a bit of pain for me. Now, emphasis on a bit, because in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't really pain, but I'm gonna let you behind the curtain a little bit. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of the process we have around here as we're thinking about what we're gonna do on Sundays together. See, we have a whole team of us that meet on a weekly basis to craft our Sunday morning experience. And each week we get together and we're looking several weeks into the future. So for today, everything that you've experienced today, we've known that we were going to do for months now. Maybe not every single detail, but the large parts of it. And so I've been extremely pumped about what I was going to be speaking about. And so we're sitting in one of these meetings a couple weeks ago, and I'm describing this plan to the rest of the team. Like I said, for months, I was set to look at the ending of the book of Ruth, where Boaz and Ruth, they have a son named Obed. I'm really excited about this because Obed serves as like this full circle moment in Naomi's tragic story. Like Naomi is finally redeemed. You know, if you were here last week, you heard about this. On top of that, though, not only does she just get this grandson through Ruth, but it turns out that Obed, he is the father of a guy named Jesse, who just so happens to be the father of a guy named King David. So it's not only that she gets redeemed, you have this really cool triumphant moment. She gets back what she lost at the beginning of the book, Naomi does. but she also becomes the great grandmother of Israel's greatest king. It's so amazing how this book is crafted this way. And I was going to talk about legacy and God's propensity to go over the top for us. Like if you were here last week, you heard all about this. But if you were here last week, you heard all about this. Yeah. As I'm telling the team about this, I see Brian, our beloved pastor, God love him, senior pastor Brian Hughes. He's sitting right next to me. And as I'm talking, I'm really excited. He's getting less excited. And he starts looking at his phone, and his shoulders get hunched, and his shiny head begins to glow red, like an electric stovetop or something. So I'm looking at the team, I'm telling them, but out of the corner of my eye, I see him doing this, and I've worked with him long enough to know that something was definitely bothering him. But I'm getting in my own head about this now. Again, on the outside, I'm excited, but in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, he thinks this is terrible. He thinks this is a terrible idea. Is he trying to hide it? Like, is he gonna pull me aside after this meeting and say, I need to change the whole thing? I mean, come on, the plan has been more or less set for months now. We're just now gonna say we don't like it. Like, I'm getting mad now. But soon after I'm done talking, he leans over to me and with this like quiet urgency, he says, have you read the message I'm doing the week before you? And I lean back, I'm like, no. And he leans back and he says, you need to look at it. And I'm sorry. And he just leans back to his phone, shamefully goes back to his phone. And so, I finish talking, I pull up the message and man, if it ain't everything I was gonna say today, literally so much of it, verbatim, what I had prepped for weeks before that. So have a great day. We'll see you guys later. You got it like something. No, I saw it, but I played it cool, just chilling, After, he knew I read it. After he knew that, he leaned over again. He said, man, I'm really sorry. Is there anything you can do? Like, is there any pivot you can make? And I'm like, dude, no problem. That was only like the tiniest part of my message, MBD. While I'm slowly dying 1,000 deaths on the inside, thinking about, I'm so far behind now. It was pain. In the long run, though, that pain that I experienced, it led me back to the Bible to dig into this book again, to read this story again and see what God is doing through Naomi. And in that process, this idea of our pain not being meaningless is what came out. And while chewing on this idea, I've been able to put some things about my own life into perspective that I hadn't quite done before. More on that in a moment. But the point is this. I went through the pain and struggle of this last minute pivot, and I ended up better on the other side. Therefore, the pain of the experience, it meant something to me. This happened in Naomi's life, and it can happen in yours too. Now, I know for a fact, we don't say that phrase around here often at all on purpose, but I know for a fact that every one of you has been through pain worse than what I just described with this message. However, like my story, maybe your pain has been outside of your control. If that's you, you're probably tempted to think that the pain you're walking through, the struggle you have, it's not fair and it shouldn't be a thing in your life. And you may very well be right. But even unfair pain has meaning because God uses it to shape us into something better if we let him. It's like Paul famously said, we also celebrate in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces patience, patience produces a well-formed character, and character like that produces hope. See, Paul recognized that because of Jesus and his own pain and journey, the things we suffer through don't have to be in vain because God uses them to mold us into better people. But like Naomi, we have to keep taking steps toward God even in the middle of that pain. As Brian told us during the first week of this series in a message he didn't steal from me, just kidding. Love you, Brian. He told us in the first week of this series, you can struggle with God as you journey toward God. And if you do that, you too can rejoice in your suffering because you know the person you'll become on the other side is better for it. But you have to resist the temptation to give up. You have to reject the idea that you're never gonna make it because again, this pain, it's not fair. I shouldn't be in it. Why is this happening? And if you're not careful, you'll just resign yourself to not pressing on anymore. Naomi almost did this. Do you remember? Before Ruth follows her back home in chapter 1 of the book, Naomi says, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter." That's what the word Mara means. "Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." And without the loyalty of Ruth and eventually Boaz, Naomi likely gives up right here. But in the end, she went on. And inside of her, patience was produced. A well-formed character was found. And she finally had hope for her future again, culminating in this stunning reversal at the end of the book. The women say to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord who this day," look at this, "has not left you." What a comparison to the beginning. "Has not left you without a guardian redeemer." If you were here last week, you heard kinsman redeemer. It's the same thing. "May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age." You see, here's the thing. By throwing up your hands and saying, you're just never going to overcome your pain, you're not only throwing away the harvest that's waiting for you at the end, but you're depriving yourself of the growth that you're going to experience on the journey toward it. And oftentimes, the growth you'll experience while you navigate your pain in obedience to God will be the only way you can actually embrace the harvest that's on the other side. I want to say that again because it's really important that you hear it. The growth that you'll experience while you navigate the pain you're walking through, while remaining obedient to God, will be the only way you can actually embrace the harvest that is waiting for you. Recently, my life took a dramatic turn that at the time completely blindsided me. Unlike the pain of having to rewrite this message, this pain is one I won't ever forget. On September 26th of last year, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And at the time of my diagnosis, I didn't know anything about it. My knowledge was as extensive as most people's in this room. Do you guys remember a guy named Wilford Brimley? Hi, I'm Wilford Brimley, and I've had diabetes for 20 years. That's basically all I knew about it. However, when the doctor told me that my fasting blood sugar was 296 and my A1C was 11.8, I quickly learned just how bad that was. And some of you know how bad it is too. Less than 24 hours after getting that news, my family and I left for our annual trip down to the Outer Banks, where I was completely alone with my thoughts. It literally felt like the world was caving in on me. I couldn't help it. The more I got on my phone and researched, predictably, the worse my anxiety about the whole thing became. Because there were so few success stories I could find that didn't rely on loads of medication or a ridiculous, unsustainable diet. What I could find a lot of were promises that it would only get worse. And that last part was especially hard for me because I was 34 then, already had a terrible A1C, and oh yeah, I was literally going blind. Did I mention that? Every day that went by the day, my vision got blurrier. Now, I've never had vision problems, and I understand that that's just part of life. That happens as you get older. But I hadn't experienced it at that point, and in the blink of an eye, my vision got so bad that on the way home at the end of the week, I couldn't read the speedometer on the dashboard. All I could see were the shapes that I used the muscle memory to decipher and the blur of the white line to keep me on the road. Every morning, every day, every night, every single moment, while I was next to the vastness and wonder of the ocean, one of the greatest places on earth, I wasn't really there. I was completely lost somewhere in the darkest corner of my mind and my heart that I've ever experienced. I cried several times, which will shock those of you who know me well. And in complete desperation, I cried out to God so many times. God, you've got to take this from me. You've got to heal me. I know you can do this. I believe you will do this, but you've got to do it. Please. Some of you have been there too, haven't you? Not with what I'm struggling with, but with what you're struggling with. In the darkest recesses of your mind and your heart, you've cried out to God to come rescue you. Literally begging God to heal you, to fix you, to restore you to the way things were. I mean, that's all I wanted. It's not that big of an ask, right? That's all I wanted. Just to go back to the time before I was diagnosed. God, just take this from me, and I promise I won't do the things that got me into this position. It's funny to say that out loud because A, I totally would have. And B, that's not how God operates. He doesn't operate with the, if you'll do this, then I'll do this mentality. And I know that. But desperation will make you forget what you know. And that's not to say that God couldn't take it from me if he wanted, but he didn't get me into this mess either. A combination of a little bit of genetics and a whole lot of poor eating got me here. He'd already given me the gift of a working body, I just didn't use it well. Your pain might be of your own making, or it might not. Regardless, God can do something about it, but it may not be what you expect. And that's what happened to me. Because before all this happened, I was right there thinking about God's healing in a particular way that I've learned a little more about. I'm sorry to say now that my view of how God can heal us, how he can work in our pain, was limited before now. Because I often thought about it in black and white. God was just going to decide who he was going to heal and who he wasn't, right? Those were the two options. And maybe God was going to show me a favor and do a miracle in my life, or maybe he wasn't. But that's okay, because God doesn't owe me anything anyway. I've always operated believing that this thinking was noble of me, like a sign of my mature faith. Look at me. I can be okay with God not healing me, even though I know he can. I'm so faithful. But what I've learned in these past few months is that it's not noble of me. It's so limiting of me. It's so limiting and putting God in a box to assume that he only has two options that I can comprehend. Either he will or he won't. That's all he's going to do. No, what I've learned is there's at least one more option, probably more, that I never considered. Because God didn't just magically take diabetes away from me while I was in the Outer Banks, but he did heal me. The isolation of the diagnosis and the time away from the world made it the worst week of my life up to this point, and also the best week of my life. Like Naomi, I realized again that I had someone beside me who refused to leave me in the darkness alone. My wife, Megan, was my Ruth, reminding me every single day that wherever this journey took me, it wasn't just taking me, it was taking us. She was coming with me. On top of that, I can't explain it other than just divine. Something like a switch flipped inside of me. You see, it was no secret to me, and if you've been here, it was no secret to you either, although I would appreciate you not saying that to me, that I was not in good health before this diagnosis. I'd really let myself go. But despite all the motivation I had in the world, my wife, my kids, my family, this church, this job, my friends, my coworkers, literally all the motivation I would ever need, I could not get out of my own way. I couldn't get it under control. But that week away, God woke something up inside of me like that of a fire. A determination to be the best version of myself that I've ever been before. He sifted through the mess of information that I was seeing online, and he actually brought me to a community of people who had found a way to reverse their symptoms without all the medication, and it was relatively simple. And even though my vision was getting worse by the day, which I mentioned, my blood sugar was rapidly improving. When I went to the beach on a Saturday, I was in the mid-300s in my blood sugar. When I left the next Saturday, 1 week later, my blood sugar was 84, a completely normal, healthy level. But it didn't stop there, because over the next few months, I did everything within me to make myself well. God had given me the tools, and now I was bound and determined to use them. I walked for miles every single day, ruthlessly attacked my diet, broke any and all bad habits that I had with food, and in 4 months, my A1C, which was 11.8 in September, in January was 4.9. To quote the doctor who took my second test, it's something she's never seen anyone do. Today, I'm 80 pounds lighter than I was, and my body actually does respond completely normally to just about any food that I eat. And I don't tell you this as a way to say, look at me, I did this awesome thing. I tell you this to show an example from my life, something that can be true in your life too. It's a reminder that your pain isn't meaningless. The pain I went through wasn't meaningless because listen, put yourself in my position, or really just apply your own pain. You've got enough of your own, you don't need to take mine. Put yourself in that position and think about this. If God had miraculously taken this from me, like I asked him to, if God had just said, you know what, everything you just said, I will do, I would not have gone on the journey of healing for myself. I would have missed out on learning firsthand what it actually took to be healthy. I would have been deprived of the growth that was clearly required inside of me to destroy my bad habits, my poor relationship with food, my lack of drive and willpower, which, by the way, was the actual problem. If I was going to be the person God made me to be, that's actually what needed to get out of my way. My desperation, I couldn't appreciate that. I couldn't see it. I just wanted things to be like they were before. So I can't just eat anything or do anything I want to today, despite not having any diabetic tendencies anymore. I know I can't do that, but what I also know is God healed so much more of me than I actually asked him for. So he did heal me, and he used my pain to do it. Remember, from the beginning of this series, there is a harvest coming. There's a harvest coming. And God only asks you to take one step at a time, just one step. You might not understand the step. You might not realize where it's taking you. Just take one step because God is faithful to bring the harvest. But I want to add just a little bit to that. Because what I don't want you to do is make the mistake of thinking that the steps you're taking are empty, that they're simply a means to an end. You just have to endure this pain for an inordinate amount of time, and one day God will just decide, you know what, I'll give it to him today. That's not how it works. Each step you take as you journey toward the harvest is producing within you a peculiar holiness, a reshaping of your entire being. Every moment you spend walking the path toward the harvest is doing a mighty work in you, resulting in what Paul said, a refined perseverance that leads to a reformed character, which continues to provide hope for the harvest to come. Whatever path of pain you walk, take heart. Your pain, it's not meaningless. And if you keep going, one day in either this life or the next, you'll be able to look back on your life and say, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And now the prize, the harvest, the redemption awaits me. The crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. You know, sometimes we here at PCC, we face a little criticism for following up our Easter celebration with a series like the one we complete today. It's none of y'all. None of y'all do that, but we face it from other people. Because it feels like too much of a heel turn from the joy of Easter to then go straight into like the pain of Naomi and the loss and the things we've been talking about. And in a way, I can appreciate it. Like nobody likes to feel down or leave church on a low note. I mean, we tend to play really sad, sappy songs as we wrap up our time together on days like today. You know, if you're one of those people who isn't a huge fan of that, then I have bad news for you. I'll get to that in a second, though. But there's a couple reasons we do this intentionally, and it is intentional. This is not the first year we've come out of Easter with a hard series. The first reason is we recognize so many of us carry around so much pain. And even amidst the adulation of Easter, the celebration we came out of, we got to deal with the pain at some point. But the other reason we do this, which supplements the first, is we actually can celebrate even as we walk through our pain. We can still rejoice despite our struggle, because God, just like he did for Naomi and for Ruth and for Shanoa and for me, God is walking with you through your suffering. And so therefore, you can celebrate in your sufferings, because you know that suffering produces patience. Patience produces a well-formed character. A character like that produces hope. So today I worship. I choose to sing because I know God is with me in my pain. I choose to praise because God has made a way for me. And I bless his name because he has so richly blessed me. And I figured doing that through a song today instead of just saying it again would be more helpful, because sometimes melody and rhythm, they can help us remember truths more powerfully than just words can. And that's the case for this song. It actually comes from the book of Job, where we see another person, another human, suffering almost every loss imaginable. Possessions, reputation, wealth, and even his family. But his response in the midst of all his pain to God is he says, "Though you slay me, yet I will hope in you." So this song, it acknowledges pain and loss and the reality of our human existence. And yet it's worship, because God has made it so our pain isn't meaningless. I come, God, I come, return to the Lord, the one who's broken, the one who's torn me apart. You strike down to bind me up. You say you do it all in love, that I might know you in your suffering. And though you slay me, and yet I will praise you. Though you take from me, I will bless your name. And though you ruin me, still I will worship and sing a song to the one who's all I need. Today you can worship. Wherever you are, when you came in today, you received a card. It may have been on your seats, it may have been handed to you, but wherever it is, I invite you to take that card now and write down the pain that you're walking through. As you do, I'm going to keep playing for a little bit, and I ask that you think about and contemplate and pray to God, asking him to show you how he's using that pain to mold you, to shape you into the person who's ready for the harvest. And I hope that you'll commit right here in this moment to taking the next step through your pain. And if you'd like, you can write on someone else's behalf as well and offer the same prayer for them. But I hope you won't use that as an excuse to not confront your own or think about your own. If God is speaking to you right now, don't ignore it. And after a few moments, we'll come back together and we'll sing the chorus of that song that you just heard. I hope that you'll just stand. I won't ask you to stand, but I would love for you to stand with me as we do once we're done this part. And we can have a moment together. But for now, let's write and let's pray.
you slay me, and yet I will praise you. Though you take from me, I will bless your name. Though you ruin me, still I will worship and sing a song to the one who's all I need. And though you slay me, yet I will praise you. Though you take from me, I will bless your name. And though you ruin me, still I will worship and sing a song to the one who's all I need. I'll sing a song to the one who's all I need.
Your pain isn't meaningless. And we don't want you to let this time that you've spent walking through that pain, contemplating it, thinking about where God is in it, we don't want this to be meaningless for you either. Because this can be the beginning of God moving in you and then through you in ways you never imagined. All you have to do is keep walking towards Him, keep walking with Him, and keep coming to church. Invite somebody to come with you in the coming weeks as we celebrate Mother's Day and then kick off a new series with practical teachings on living the way that God has called us to. You don't want to miss any of it. We love you, and we'll see you next week.